In the halls of the Red Keep, Pycelle hurriedly mixes potions while midwives rush to and fro, tending to the queen who lays in bed screaming in exertion. Soon enough, the adults' voices go quiet, replaced by the cries of a newborn infant. Cersei and Robert stare at their first child, a girl bearing the black hair and thundering voice of the Baratheons, with the fierce emerald eyes of the Lannisters. It is a rare moment of peace in a realm still recovering from war. The king's control is far from absolute, and many vengeful houses are eager to exploit his weakness. Robert's early years as king are far from peaceful. Rebellions small and large erupt across the realm, forcing him to spend more time on the battlefield than on the throne. For the first few years of her life, Barra only catches glimpses of her father in the brief moments he returns from war. The largest of these conflicts is the Greyjoy Rebellion. Barra, barely old enough to understand, clings to her father's leg and begs him not to go as he prepares to board his flagship to attack the Iron Islands. Cersei scolds her daughter for her weakness, but Robert laughs, lifting her with one arm and assuring her that he'll return soon. As Barra stares at her father, more giant than man, she knows it to be true. True to his word, Robert returns victorious. The image of her larger-than-life father walking through the throne room, dressed from head to toe in plate armor, clutching the driftwood crown in one hand and his warhammer in the other, sticks with her forever. When she lifts his visor to reveal his laughing blue eyes and fierce smile, it is a moment she will never forget. He spends the next few nights regaling her with tales of great battles, strange lands, burning ships and crumbling castles. Soon enough, she begins to follow him to the training yard where he spars with other knights. She stands just outside the sparring rounds, emulating his movements with a stick. Once she is old enough, she demands to learn how to fight just like him. Cersei is horrified by the idea, scolding her and insisting that a lady should not dirty herself with swords and shields. But Robert sees a bit of Lyanna in his fiery daughter and commands Sir Barristan Selmy to train her. Under Sir Barristan's tutelage, Barra grows strong and fierce, proving herself a natural fighter. But with the Greyjoy Rebellion crushed, the realm enters a time of peace. She is soon joined by her siblings, Joffrey, Myrcella, and while it is a big change, she grows to adore Tommen and Myrcella, but has nothing but disdain for Joffrey. Even as a child, Joffrey is cruel and arrogant, delighting in tormenting others. He would gladly do the same to Barra if he did not fear her. Instead, Barra finds herself protecting her siblings and cousin Shireen from Joffrey's cruelty. Cersei, however, dotes on Joffrey and becomes increasingly critical of Barra. Where Robert sees strength, Cersei sees defiance. She grows cold toward her eldest daughter, leaving Barra to favor her father even more, spending all her spare time listening to his stories and longing for a chance to prove herself beyond the training yard. Stannis also takes an interest in his niece, speaking to her about tactics and strategies used to defeat the Ironborn. But where Robert's war stories are grand and filled with passion, Stannis's lessons feel dull and rigid. She often finds herself thinking about how boring Uncle Stannis can be. However, Stannis remains affectionate toward her, especially after she gives Joffrey a bloody nose for mocking Shireen's grayscale. Jon Arryn, the Hand of the King, begins to take notice. He sees how Barra stands apart from her siblings. Where she is dark-haired and robust, the other children are golden and delicate, with none of Robert's features. The differences gnaw at him until he begins to investigate, piecing together the truth. More importantly, Barra will be in danger. To protect her, Jon convinces the king to send her away to the Eyrie, ostensibly to be warded and possibly betrothed to young Robert Arryn. The king finds this a splendid idea, recalling his own days in the Eyrie, and agrees. Barra, confused and hurt, is spirited away from King's Landing. But as she tries to hide her tears, Jon Arryn pulls her aside and promises that this is all done for her protection. He sends her off along with his household just before he dies, ordering Lysa to keep her in the Eyrie at all costs. Barra's time in the Eyrie is far from what she imagined. Where her mother ignored her, Lysa is the opposite, strict, critical and unyielding, determined to turn Barra into the perfect wife for her son, Robert. The first thing she demands is that Barra trade her sword for embroidery and etiquette lessons. The young Baratheon princess bristles under these rules, but here she lacks her father's protection and is bound by the customs of her host. Reluctantly she agrees, shedding her armor. Instead she cares for Robert, though she feels more like a sister than a betrothed, constantly tending to his needs, navigating his mood swings, and dealing with his tantrums. Her time in the Vale does, however, give her a chance to meet the Lords of the Vale. While many look at her warrior-like personality with disdain, they appreciate her strength in supporting Robert, even if unofficially. But while things in the Vale seem quiet, the rest of the Seven Kingdoms move at a breakneck pace. With the death of Jon Arryn, Robert Baratheon appoints Eddard Stark as Hand of the King. Initially, this seems like an excellent decision. Barra has heard of the loyalty and love between her father and her uncle Ned. Robert even holds a tourney in Ned's honor. Barra wishes to attend, but for her protection she is forbidden, forced to cool her heels in the Eyrie. The good times do not last. Tensions flare between House Stark and House Lannister. The breaking point comes when Catelyn Stark captures Tyrion Lannister, bringing him to the Eyrie for judgment. Barra is shocked to see Catelyn arrive with her prisoner, the infamous Imp of Casterly Rock. As Tyrion is paraded into the Great Hall while lords jeer and mock, Barra remains silent, listening carefully to Catelyn's story. News is difficult to come by thanks to Lysa closing the borders, so she hangs onto every word. Then more news arrives, shaking Barra to her core. First, her father is dead, killed in a hunting accident. The revelation shatters her. She thinks back to the man she loved, the strapping warrior who became a drunken but jolly king. She had always assumed he would live for many more years. Then another blow follows. Eddard Stark has been arrested for attempting to prevent Joffrey from taking the throne. A messenger from Dragonstone arrives, Melisandre, the Red Priestess. She seeks an audience with Barra, delivering a letter from Stannis Baratheon himself. Its contents shake her to her very core. Stannis claims that Joffrey, Myrcella, and Tommen are bastards, born of incest between Cersei and Jaime. She cannot believe it. But Melisandre's eerie calm makes her shiver. If this is true, then my claim is the only one that remains, Barra murmurs. Your uncle is a man of duty, Melisandre replies. He knows the throne belongs to Robert Baratheon's true heir. But make no mistake, child. There is a darkness coming, one growing stronger beyond the conflicts of men. A sense of purpose ignites within Barra. She cannot sit idly by while war rages across the realm, but if she is to claim the throne, she must gather her strength. She approaches Lysa, urging her to call her banners, but Lysa, paranoid and afraid, refuses. The lords of the Vale grumble among themselves. Seeing this, Melisandre urges Barra to approach them individually, to gather an army of her own. Barra takes a deep breath, looking down at the letter in her hand. Doubts, fears, and the weight of destiny press upon her. But within her heart something stirs. She has longed to emulate her father. Now she has the chance. The war for the throne is about to begin. Barra marches north without risking the eye of the king. In the north, she hopes to raise more levies in the Crown Lands, but soon news arrives that Joffrey has declared his eldest sister a usurper and offers a massive bounty to whoever brings him her head. The news stuns the Vale lords, but rather than turning against her, it hardens their resolve. They have seen Barra fighting alongside them, witnessed her compassion, and remember how Jon Arryn risked everything to protect her, ultimately dying to expose the crimes of Cersei and Jaime. To them, this is just further confirmation of the Lannisters' cruelty. As they gather in the salt pans, rallying levies from the riverlands, word arrives of ships approaching, bearing the sigil of a flaming heart. Melisandre is quick to assure Barra that this is her uncle, the Lord of Dragonstone. When Stannis lands in the town, he stares at his young niece. He lacks Robert's warmth, and their meeting feels more formal than familial. Yet there is a flicker of something in his eyes. Pride, perhaps even a little affection. You've done well to bring the Vale to heel, Stannis says. But we face a new threat. Renly has raised an army in Highgarden. He fancies himself king now. Barra frowns. But Uncle, Renly's claim is even weaker than Joffrey's. How could he possibly justify it? He has an army, and he thinks that's enough. Stannis' voice is sharp with frustration. How can we deal with the Lannisters with this folly? Enough grumbling, niece. The war is not lost yet. Stannis' expression hardens. Tywin's force is diminished thanks to your victory in the salt pans, and his need to detach men for raiding and harassment. But if he reaches the city, he can fortify it and have the manpower to withstand a siege. If that happens, Renly may move in and take it while we are unable to oppose him. We must defeat Tywin and take King's Landing before Renly can act. Then maybe we can assert ourselves. Heeding his words, Barra announces to her army that they will finish off the wounded lion. The men erupt in cheers at this declaration, and the next day the army marches south in hot pursuit. Sir Lyn Corbray rides ahead, taking the Vale's swiftest riders to harass and attack the enemy army as they retreat. Though Sir Adam Marbrand proves to be an effective rearguard commander, the Knight of House Corbray is a ferocious opponent, and they clash several times. Dozens of men die in these attacks. While the Lannisters replenish their numbers with recruits from passing houses, it puts immense pressure on their army. Seeing this, Barra dispatches Sir Richard Hawpe and Sir Morton Waynwood to cut off these reinforcements, depriving Tywin of manpower. Stannis' presence adds new strength to the army. With Barra's bravery, Jon Royce's gallantry, and Stannis' discipline, the Baratheon forces move with renewed vigor. They catch up to Tywin and force him to halt and meet their advance just outside Rosby. By now the Lannister army numbers 8,000, while the Baratheon forces swell to over 200. 0-0. On the night before the battle, a strange event occurs. While standing on the castle walls, monitoring the enemy forces, Tywin Lannister tumbles from the parapet to his death. Some say he feared facing Stannis, others claim he couldn't bring himself to fight his granddaughter, and some whisper that shadows came to life and dragged him down for his sins. With Tywin gone, Sir Kevin Lannister rallies the troops and organizes the battle lines, but the loss has shaken the army. As the two forces clash in battle, the Vale Knights, led by Lyn Corbray, drive into the Lannisters' left flank, their weakest point. The young knight whirls through the battle lines, his sword Lady Forlorn cutting through foes left and right. Lord Crakehall's forces struggle to hold their ground. Barra fights alongside them, cutting through her grandfather's bannermen. Years of experience come forth, her ferocity on full display as young knights of the Vale surround her. On the right flank, Stannis' disciplined troops push against the Lannister centre, reinforced by the narrow sea houses and levies from the Crownlands and Riverlands. They march in locked shields, driving back Kevan's pikemen. Kevan proves a capable commander, deploying his reserves to support the failing left flank while taking direct command of the centre. Lannister archers rain arrows upon the Baratheon troops, but the shield walls hold firm. Slowly but surely, the Lannister line begins to buckle. Jon Royce and his heavy cavalry strike the right flank hard. Though the disciplined men under Adam Marbrand hold, they are unable to assist their struggling comrades. More importantly, a small force led by Sir Davos Seaworth and Sir Clayton Suggs infiltrates the Lannister camp. They overwhelm the defenders and set fire to the tents. Seeing the Lannister banners fall and replaced with the stag of House Baratheon, the enemy forces begin to break. Westermen rush back to save their belongings. Kevan roars in frustration, attempting to rally his men, but it is no use. He is soon captured. Barra looks toward King's Landing. The city's distant silhouette glows against the horizon. Without Tywin's army to defend it, the Lannisters in King's Landing have no choice but to yield. As word of the victory spreads, a rider brings news from the capital. There is mutiny. The Goldcloaks have rebelled and opened the gates for them. Cersei and her siblings have been detained, awaiting punishment. When she hears the news, Barra grins at Stannis. The Iron Throne is ours. However, as they march towards the capital, a second rider approaches on the King's Road, but this one does not come from the capital. He rides from the Stormlands. Robar Royce of the Rainbow Guard halts before them. "I've come to deliver a message on behalf of Renly Baratheon," he declares. He wishes to discuss terms with his niece. "Let's aim for 3,000 likes on this one. Do it for part 2. Westeros is a land filled with exciting stories and possibilities, and we love exploring them. If you want to accompany us on this journey across the Seven Kingdoms and beyond, please like, share, and subscribe to our channel.